Hello and welcome to Upton Studio. Today, we are going to explore the use of higher order functions in JavaScript, and by the end of this session, you will have a better understanding of how higher order functions work, the advantages and practical usage. We'll also look at some commonly used higher order functions with examples. So let's dive in. So what are higher order functions? In JavaScript, functions can be assigned to a variable, passed into another function, or returned from another function, just like any other value. So by definition, that is what we call first-class functions. In essence, all functions in JavaScript are first-class functions. And a function that you can pass into another function to decide the invocation of that function is called a callback function. So bringing this together, we get the definition of higher order functions, which are functions that take a function as an argument or return a function as a return value. Or you can put it as functions that take one or more callbacks as arguments and return a function as a return value. So it is also important to know that higher order functions are rooted in the functional programming paradigm, which emphasizes on immutability, pure functions, and isolated functions. Okay. So enough with the definitions. So let's dive into some examples, and we're going to look at some commonly used higher order functions in JavaScript. So in this, we're going to start by defining defining an array. Just a minute. So we're going to start by defining an array of subscribers, which holds objects with properties of name, country, and age. So the first commonly used higher order function in JavaScript is what we call map function. So map function iterates over each item in an array and returns a new array containing the results of calling the callback function on each element. So we're going to, for example, in our example, you might be asked to increment each subscriber's age by a number, say 10 years. Okay? So you can apply a map function to do that. So you can start by defining a function, call it increments age, which is equals to, so you call map function on the subscribers array dot map. So map essentially accepts three arguments. So the first one is the element that is the first one is the element of the array. The second is the index of the array. Then the third is the array upon which the map function is being called. So in our case, but the last two are optional. So in our case, we're going to use the element that is being called, that is subscribe. Then we might want to increment the ages of these subscribers by say 5. Or 10, in this matter. Then we console log the new array. So when we run this, so you get a new array with the ages of the subscribers incremented by 10. So another commonly used higher order function in JavaScript is the filter function. So let's comment this out first. So as the name suggests, filter, of course, it can be used to filter out certain elements in an array that meet a certain condition. So a filter higher order function will use a callback function on each element of the array and return a new array containing only the elements that evaluate to true after the callback. So, for example, in our case, we might want to return all the users that are above the age of 30. So, const over 30, over age 30 equals subscribers.filter. So just like map accepts 3 arguments, element, index, and array. So the elements will be subscribe again. Then what we're doing, we're returning subscribers over the age of 30. So you can use greater than or equal to 30. So console.log this. Over age 30. So we'd expect this one to return subscribers that are over the age of 30. And yes, you can see we have 3 subscribers that are over the age of 30. So another interesting higher order function in JavaScript is the reduce function. So the reduce function iterates over each element in an array and returns a single value. Okay, so this is achieved by applying a callback on each in each iteration. Okay, so for example, you might be required to provide the sum of the ages of all the subscribers, and to do that, using the reduce function, const sum of ages. Subscribers dot reduce. So reduce is different from filter and map. So in contrast to map and filter, this one accepts 4 arguments. The first one being an accumulator, then the second being the current elements being acted upon. Then there's the index and the original array that is being called being called by the reduce function. So to do this, so we can define first argument as sum, and the element as subscribe, then sum plus edge. So it also accepts one more argument, which is called accumulator, which is the no, not the accumulator, but this one is the initial value of the accumulator. Okay, so for example, in our case, the initial, we can assume that the initial sum of these edges is 0. Okay, so when we run this, sum of edges okay, so we get the sum of all edges is 42. So there are several other examples that we might want to look at. For example, we have for each, which loops through each element of the array, just like a for loop. We have sort, which can be used to sort elements in an array. Okay. So, but I think one interesting thing that we can look at is how to create our own custom higher order function. And I thought it would be interesting to look at how we can define our own map function. And to do that, we just define a function, implement the logic to be used by the callback function, then just invoke the function. So we're going to make a custom map function. And the first thing we do, we define a function. We call it function custom map. And this one will accept an array and a callback. Okay. So as you all know, a map function returns an array. So we declare an empty array called we call it mapped array. It's an empty array. Then now we can use a for loop. So here we use the logic. Let's I equals to 0, I is less than, we get the size of the array dot length, then I plus plus, we auto increment this. So what we do, mapped array, we push the invocation to the callback function. This will be callback. So a map accepts 3 arguments. So the first one being the elements being acted upon. So then the index and the array. Then return mapped array. So finally, we can invoke our custom higher order function. So this one is called on an array. See, we have a syntax error here. So we can define an array like 20 2 5 8 10. So what we might want to do on this array is maybe find the square root of these numbers in the array. So another syntax error there. Okay. So we can call the custom map function on this array. So we can define const squared array is equals to custom map. We pass the array and the callback. So our callback function will be num then num times num. So an array and a callback function. So when you console.log this one, let's see what this gives us. Yes, so you're able to get the square of the numbers in the array. So let's compare this one to the inbuilt map function. So this will be achieved by calling const square array. Let's comment on this. Was array dot map. Then callback r times r. So console.log this. So we'd expect that it gives us the same result. And yes, it gives us the same result. So you can see you can also make your custom. This just explains how you can make your own custom high order function. And you can see it compares to even some inbuilt custom functions. Okay, so you can make your own high order function to do your sorts, but of course it is easier to leverage on the inbuilt functions, which make your work quite clean and concise. So finally, maybe we can get into some discussions on maybe some of the advantages of using higher order functions. And one thing that is clear is that higher order functions ensure that your code is reusable, and they ensure your code is more modular. So higher order functions will enable you to break down complex tasks into smaller manageable functions, and then where each function will be focusing on a specific aspect of the problem, thus making your code easier to understand and easier to test and maintain. Then there's of course the aspect of enhancing readability, and this is what functional programming is all about. It makes your code more expressive and concise, and thus improves readability. Of course, another advantage is encapsulation and abstraction, where, of course, abstraction is about hiding implementation details of a function and only exposing the necessary functionality. So, use of higher order functions allows you to achieve abstraction and encapsulation into your code, which of course also improves security of your code. Okay. So, and what are some of the practical usages of higher order functions? Okay. So the most obvious one is, of course, array manipulation. Some of these functions that, even from the examples that we have looked at, allow you to easily manipulate arrays. You can apply many operations on an array. For example, the reduce function is quite powerful in performing operations on an array. So another thing, practical usage is on event handling. So higher order functions can allow you to create event listeners and to respond to various events. For example, in web programming, you can listen to button clicks and add an event listener that applies a callback function after maybe a click or any other event on the web. Okay, so something like this. You can have a button dot click what's that? So button dot click dot add events listener. So you can listen to an event like a click event. Then now you can apply a callback function. Now then you can have your logic here. Yeah. So that is one example of how a callback can be a higher order function can be used to handle events. Then another thing is asynchronous operations in JavaScript. So one practical example is something like set timeout that allows your code to run at specific after an interval. So that is one example where you can use this is an example of a higher order function that is quite useful in your day-to-day programming life. So you can set a timeout, something like that. Then here you can apply some logic. Okay, so I think the next thing that we can look at is I think that pretty much sums up higher order function. I hope this session has been helpful to you, and we can meet on the next one. Bye.